Hello everyone! In this video, we are going to learn how to connect our MuleSoft application using the Mac project to the Einstein Trust layer. This will help us to leverage the best LLMs that we have from our Salesforce application. In this case, we are going to be using the connector to generate from past messages. So before we start, really quickly, we have to set up a connected application in Salesforce. Make sure you have these auth scopes, API, refresh token, offline access, chatbot API, SFAP API, and these check marks right here. Once you have your connected app, make sure to retrieve the consumer key and consumer secret from the Manage Consumer Details button. Once you have those details, we are going to use them from our MuleSoft application. In this case, I have this simple application with one HTTP listener, but in this case, we are using a transform message to transform our code from a JSON input to a string because that is what the chat generate from messages connector is asking for. So once we generate this string from the JSON, we can simply send it here using the payload. And we can set up the additional properties like the model API name, which comes from our Salesforce configuration, as well as the probability and the locale. Now for the connection configuration, we can click on this button, and we can see here that we have our auth client credentials, the client ID and client secret, both coming from our Salesforce configuration. And for the token URL, we can go into my domain in the Salesforce settings. Copy the current my domain URL and paste it here in token URL. Make sure you append /services/auth2/token to the end. Once you have this configuration, you can go ahead and run the application. Once your application is running, as you can see from here, the deployed status, we can go ahead and run this. In this example, we have some history from the user, sent a message, and then we have the assistant sending a response. And now the user is going to send another message, and we can send this. And this is how the response looks like. In this case, we will receive more metadata, like the role is going to be the assistant, but we also can see some content quality, like scanning the toxicities in different categories, like identity, hate, profanity, violence, and so on. In this case, it didn't detect any toxicity, because our last message said I didn't mean it, even though our first message clearly is toxic. After the metadata, we can also receive the content, which is the actual response from the assistant. In this case, it said, no problem at all. I'm here to help with any questions or tests you may have. So as you can see, you can keep generating your history to keep sending to the agent over and over, and the history can keep getting bigger and bigger.